Hello, welcome back to another video. So, Manchester Town Hall, currently closed for major refurbishment work. Just after it closed and just before the workmen moved in, Manchester City Council invited us in to take a look around and film this beautiful building. So this is the first of a couple of videos I'm going to do, and this one is the clock tower of Manchester Town Hall. Now, I filmed this a couple of weeks ago and amazing. And if you can get over the fact that I've got a stupid camera on my head because I didn't want to miss a bit of it, I hope you enjoy the video. So without further ado, let's go down now to the town hall and take a walk up the clock tower and see what it's got to offer. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so the clock tower. We're going to go through this little door here. And we're going to go and take a look at the clock tower. Now I know I look strange, I've got a little camera on my head as well, but I don't want to miss a moment of this. So I've got lights on, I'm going to turn the camera around and try and give you first person view, but amazingly, and I can't wait, this little doorway leads to the clock tower. Let's crack on and go through the door. Now the clock tower that we're climbing is 280 feet tall. It has 173 steps from where we've just set off to the top where the main bell is. Now believe it or not, this is Manchester's second town hall. It was designed by Alfred Waterhouse in the neo-Gothic style. Work commenced in 1868. Now as we climb the tower we're going to encounter a few rooms, the first of which is the ringing room. So a little bit of trivial information for you about the chiming bells. In 1936, 1937, all the bells except for the big bell were recast to commemorate the coronation of King Edward VIII. But of course he abdicated, didn't he, rather sharpishly. So they had to take the bells back down and take Edward off the bells and put George on and remove two of the Roman numerals on the end, so it said George the Sixth. So that was a bit of a rush job that they had to do. There was a new carillon machine that was installed, and you'll see that in a moment in the next room. That's a fascinating machine. But the new chiming bells were officially rung on the May the 8th of 1937 by the National Guild of Police Ringers on the signal of the Lord Mayor at the time, which was Alderman J. Toole. Don't you just love this pendulum? So as we leave the ringing room, we go back onto the spiral staircase and we head on upwards, and I've cut a lot of the journey up the spiral staircase out because it just seemed to go on and on and on. But the next room is probably my most favourite room, and it is the mechanism room. Wow. Right, so obviously this is the mechanism room, and you can see the mechanism there. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. This is a trapdoor here. So I'm a bit wary of standing on it, but you see this thing here, see the scroll of paper? Well, that's what plays the tunes on the bells. Obviously not the main bell, because that just goes bong bong, but the smaller bells that do the chimes. I know people will know about this, I don't, you've got to remember. But an interesting thing over here, an amazing thing. These are for to ring the bells as well. Look at these little drawers here. In these drawers are little scrolls of paper. This one says, changes plus auld lang syne. So when you're all outside in Albert Square celebrating the new year, that little roll of paper is put into that machine for it to play the various things at various times of the year. Now, as well as feeding a paper scroll into the machine to get it to play the bells, you can also play it manually with your hands as well, like a keyboard, if you're musically inclined. It's called a carillon machine. I think I've got that right. A carillon machine. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but a beautiful piece of engineering. What an incredible thing to see. You know, it's just something you don't very often see. Now, some of you may have remembered or watched a video I did called Manchester's hydraulic power system, and it was all about the way Manchester had a water hydraulic power system with pumping stations that put water under pressure, and it did various things. It lifted the curtains at the Opera House, and one of the things it did was wind the town hall clock. So we're looking for the old mechanism, and I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for. That was probably powered off that hydraulic mechanism. I'm wondering what this is. Looks like a fairly redundant piece of machinery, I'm not sure, but difficult to know. But there'll be something up here that is a remnant of that system that used to wind up the town hall clock. Now, if you haven't seen that video, Manchester, as well as a few other cities in Britain, had a hydraulic water pressure system that was piped around the city centre, and it did various jobs in the city, mainly for industry, but one of them in Manchester was to wind the town hall clock. And I think some of this redundant mechanism in the ceiling here is definitely part of that old mechanism, that hydraulic pressure mechanism that wound the town hall clock. Having done a video on it and studied it, it's absolutely great to see the remnants of it. Absolutely incredible. And so into the dial room. Now the clock faces are 15 foot 9 inches wide, and the initially boasted triple jet gas illumination. Obviously nowadays they're electric. Now the inscription over the dials reads, "Teach us to number our days." And this is taken from Psalm 90 verse 12, which reads, "So teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom." We'll carry on going up, so what can I say? Wow. Now the best thing about climbing this little clock tower is there's all sorts of doors, and when you open them you get a nice view out across a balcony onto the city centre. Quite scary if you're not into heights like me. Well, onwards we must go, and we're going to go on to our next room now, which is one of the bell rooms. Higher up the tower now, this is where the chiming bells hang. There's 20 of them altogether, and I think altogether they weigh about 36 tonnes. It was quite interesting to see. Some of them have actually got chimers that swing inside. Some of the bells are actually struck by a hammer on the outside. Okay, so get ready. I'll drop the volume level, but it's going to distort, but here we go. Okay, so the final climb up the clock tower, and we're going to come out just here on this sort of balcony just above the clock faces, and underneath what I want to call the spire. So as we make the final ascent, let's walk out of the little door and onto that little balcony. Oh, I'm feeling fresh air. Ooh. Wow. Whoa. Look at that. Would you look at that? Oh wow. There's the bell. Oh my God. Speechless. Completely speechless. You know when you love your city and you get the chance to do this? Every single video I think I've ever done has been worth it for this moment, stood underneath the bell of Manchester Town Hall. I'll tell you about the bell in a minute. Absolutely, absolutely blown away. Incredible, incredible. I need to spend about 4 hours here just taking photographs. This is unbelievable. And these timbers, the timbers here that support the bell, where the bell hangs from, look at that, the girders. And obviously, there's the bell. Now the bell, it hangs in a solid oak frame and it's called Great Abel. It's named after Abel Haywood, one of Manchester's former Lord Mayors, who himself in his past was a bit of a radical. It was cast in 1877 and it weighed 6 tons. Unfortunately, 5 years later in 1882, the bell cracked. So it was taken down and returned to tailors of Loughborough and it was recast. Now they recast it and they increased the size of the diameter by 2 inches to 7 foot 7 inches. But it retained the same note of F sharp. They did thicken the walls of the bell somewhat, and it now weighs 8 tons. Around the top of the bell is a line from a Tennyson poem, and it says, "Ring out the false, ring in the true." Now on top of the spire there, or the lantern as it's called, there is a globe, and the globe represents the sun. There are some spikes on the globe, and apparently a bird got impaled on it in the 1800s. It sort of triggered off a bit of a story that I'm going to look into for you. So stay tuned for more of the town hall. I'll try and look into that story, but it became quite a quirky little story. Anyway, So, as it's coming up to 12 o'clock midday, shall we stay and listen to Great Abel chime? There you go. I hope I did it justice. Difficult place to film, and I was a bit overwhelmed by it, to be honest with you, and in awe of the place. So I hope that video did it justice. Anyway, I'd like to thank Manchester City Council, in particular Liam, Steve and Brian and Tony. Thank you so much, Tony, for reaching out to me and contacting me. So any revenues made from this video, I will be making a donation to the We Love Manchester charity, which is currently doing some great work, and it also supports the victims of the Manchester bomb. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you very soon in the next video. And thanks very much to Savik for the haunting music that I was allowed to use on this video, and of course to Dean, who did the music as well. You're going to hear Dean's music next and you'll recognise it. So thanks Dean, and thanks very much to Savik. I hope that's how I say your name. Thanks for watching, take care, I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.